Ryan to the stage. He's on his 7th year of writing his first novel. And he's got the most complicated name known to man. Let's give it up for Mr. Ryan Pangolian.
It's not that complicated. It's like 5 syllables. Pangolian. Totally ethnic. How's everybody doing tonight? Awesome. Yeah, I totally have an ethnic name. My parents are immigrants. The thing about learning about, or the thing about having bad roommates, I should say, is that if you're the son of immigrants, you're prepared. So when you enter the adult world and you have your own place or you have roommates, then you kind of know what to expect. As I'd come to learn. My parents are both from the Philippines, so they're just kind of crazy, but crazy enough to function on some level. But when you tell these kinds of stories to people, they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? That's not normal." And to me, it's like, dude, that was Saturday. A lot of these roommate stories that we all, as adults share involves like a lot of bodily fluids, and when you have siblings like I do, like you're mentally like you have it in check. Like my little brother thought it was a really good idea to pee on my transformer when I was a kid, and Optimus Prime just never transformed the same way again. Fast forward to being 21 and living with a grown-ass man named Giles, who decided it was a good idea to pee on my shoes, just to prove a point. Like, there was no real reason to. He was just like, dude, I'm gonna pee on your shoes because I can. I wasn't really too bummed out about it because that's what water and soap is for. And really, I killed my little brother for making Optimus Prime not transformable. I just let it go. Another common thread that we all share when we have roommates is the incident in having someone walk in on you mid-coitus. At the risk of sounding uncool, I lived with my mom and my grandparents until I was about 20. So like my second year of college, I had run through my series of like first adult girlfriends or whatever. And one day I was at home with one, and my mom walked in on us. Well, we were doing stuff like there was no real penetration involved. I was trying to figure out how to take off her bra. Side note, when you're 19, you fucking have no idea how to do that shit. It's like trying to pick your sister's lock on her diary. It was really awkward. So there's like one boob hanging out, and then like the strap is over here, and my mom comes in, and she's just like, and she leaves the room, and my mom at this point was Catholic, so she went to the other room to go pray. I took this girl home, not in that way, but more because it was embarrassing for me and her. And when I got home, I was like, so mom, what'd you think of my girlfriend? Wasn't she awesome? And I'm like, she's Filipino, so she's like one of us. Surely she's allowed to come back, right? And my mom just looks at me, seriously, deadpan, just like, Ryan, don't date Filipino girls. They're in trouble. And she walked away. There's a lot of like the whole premise of my relationship with my mother is built on her saying one thing that's crazy and then leaving. And I'm just sitting there to contemplate it as if she was like Descartes. Eventually I moved out and I had a series of interesting roommates. The sex thing is one that pops up a lot. There was one night, I had this one roommate who was probably like hands down the best roommate I've ever had because she was never home. She was always at her boyfriend's house, and her job had her leave the country a bunch. So we'd lived together for about 7 or 8 months, and through that whole time I lived with her for about 1 month. Because she was in China, or she was in Europe, or she was like wherever. So one weekend I thought that I had the house to myself, so I invited this girl over, and good times are had. And when you feel like you're living alone, you feel like you have the freedom to do whatever you want. You can like walk around naked, or in the case of Michelle's roommate, walk around in your thong, like I am apt to do sometimes. It's nice. It's comfortable. Banana hacks. a drink of water, and your roommate's gone, right? And I'm like, yeah, my roommate is in Ireland, fucking blowing some leprechaun. You're good. So I'm there, and I'm texting whomever, probably Corey, who's coming on soon later tonight, and just being like, yeah, this chick totally rode the baloney pony. It was awesome. And she comes in like 5 seconds later, and she's like, Ryan, your roommate and her boyfriend are doing shrooms in the living room. So I come out, and my roommate has like a scarf tied around her head, and they're playing Super Mario World. And, you know, in the case of like bringing a girl home, you feel like, oh, I'm totally embarrassed. And instead I high-five them for playing Super Mario World on shrooms. I don't know. So, there's some innocence to that. It was nice. It was nice. It was roommate camaraderie, you know? These things happen. I think in some cases I have proven to be the bad roommate myself. And more times than not, they are always brought on by alcohol. There was one night where I lived in a punk house with a bunch of with dudes that I was in a band with and a couple of other people. And we went to go see Stella one night. And I got really trashed because I gave David Wayne like a high five and bought him like a whiskey coke. And I had to be carried out of the club. And had my roommate drive me home. And I ended up leaving my car at the venue. And at the time I lived in the basement room, which had the furnace like right next to it. And it was October or November, so it was starting to get cold. And I remember like crashing on my bed, and all of a sudden I hear someone turn on the furnace upstairs. And I just woke up, just instantly just fucking pissed. How dare these motherfuckers wake me up? I am drunk, I just want to sleep it off. I want to have a good night. So I walk upstairs, open the door, and I just start yelling at everybody. And in my head, I'm just like, fuck you guys. Obviously, I need my sleep. You're ruining my night. I high-five David Wayne. I am sleeping in the van because I was in a band and our van was parked outside and it had a bed, which was not very comfortable in the cold fall weather. So I went out there, slept in the van, and the next morning I was coming back in to eat Pop-Tarts. And my roommates, Heather and Tony, were sitting on the couch, and they're like, what happened to you? And I'm like, I slept in the van because you guys woke me up, because you turned on the fucking furnace, and all I really, really wanted to do was get some sleep. And they're like, no, you walked out and you said, fuck me, and walked and stormed out. And we thought you fell asleep and behind the bushes by Krispy Kreme. I also have this habit when I'm drunk to go out and get donuts. It's really bad. That's how I stopped being vegan. In the same house is where I've had the worst roommate story ever. One day, my roommate Giles and I thought it was a good idea to get up at 9:30 and start drinking immediately. Because I was like 21 and he was 26, because that's what 26-year-olds do. And so we started off with PBRs, and as the day progressed, we kept stepping it up. We kept drinking like Sparks and Mike's Hard Lemonade, and we were drinking like JD straight from the bottle, and I'm pretty sure that Bartles and James was somewhere in there. And we had somehow migrated to some party where there was a mud wrestling pit. And Giles decides to mud wrestle a couple girls because he's that beefy of a dude. Keeping in mind that he used to be in the army, so he's just trying to clothesline these poor girls. Who were probably, and the whole like premise of having a mud wrestling pit with hot chicks is that it's flirty in that way where you think you're going to get laid, and he was just laying them out. So he crawls out of the mud pit and he's completely soaked because he had used the garden hose to wash off, and he's like, I need something clean to wear. And by this time I had sobered up. I'd gone out of my drunken stupor, which was highlighted, side note, by me hitting on Beth Ditto at some point. Which obviously didn't work. But he comes out and he asks for some clean clothes. So the only thing I had in my around was my graduation robe. So he's freeballing it, wearing this robe, and just being all like, yeah, I graduated. I carried him home up the stairs that night, and keeping in mind, again, he was in the army. He was like a really strong, beefy dude, and I'm like this little Asian dude. And I just plopped him down on the couch, and I went downstairs to my room to go to bed. And I realized that I left one of my books upstairs that I like to read before I go to bed. And I went to go grab it, and I didn't turn on the lights because he was asleep and I didn't want to disturb him, because I am a good roommate. That's what I do. So I'm reaching across the table to grab my book, and I just feel his hand just grab it, and I feel this, like this fucking arm right next to, like behind my head, and he's putting me in a chokehold. He's all like, "What the fuck do you want? Are you here to steal my soul?" And I'm like, "No, Chaz, it's Ryan. I just want my book. I want to read." And he's all like, "You fucking Asian, why are you pulling ninja shit on me?" And then he passes out, and that is the worst roommate story I ever had. These days, I live alone. I'm 29. I have a kid, and I'm a single dad, and I would like to say that my daughter is like the worst roommate because she like, leaves shit everywhere.